Mediapart alleges Dassault paid at least €7.5 million to middleman Sushil Gupta from 2007 to 2012 through overbilled IT contracts with shell company to secure sale of jets. French portal Mediapart has alleged that Dassault paid at least €7.50 MN to middleman Sushil Gupta from 2007 to 2012 through overbilled IT contracts with a shell company to secure the €7.87 billion deal Rafale deal with India. Despite the existence of related papers since October 2018, the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) has not yet taken up a probe, it alleged. A response from the CBI to the allegation is still awaited. The probe agencies have accused Mr. Gupta of being instrumental in the routing of commissions in the 2010 AgustaWestland VVIP chopper deal via Mauritius-based shell company Interstellar Technologies Limited and several other such entities. In March 2019, the Enforcement Directorate arrested him in that case, based on the disclosures made by Rajiv Saxena, who was deported from the United Arab Emirates. The latter disclosed that Interstellar Technologies was controlled by Mr. Gupta and another accused, Gautam Khaitan. The funds were further transferred by him to other entities in different countries. According to the French portal's report, the Attorney General's office in Mauritius had sent the documents to the CBI director on October 11, 2018, in response to a letter of request seeking information in the chopper deal case. A week earlier, on October 4, 2018, the CBI got a complaint alleging corruption in Rafale deal from lawyer Prashant Bhushan and former Union Minister Arun Shourie. His, Sushil Gupta's Mauritian company, Interstellar Technologies, received at least €7.5 million from the French aviation firm between 2007 and 2012. Thanks to IT contracts that were clearly overbills, and from which most of the money was discreetly sent to Mauritius using a system of alleged false invoices. Some of these invoices even got the name of the French company wrong, referring instead to Dassault Aviation, said the Mediapart report. According to the portal, Mr. Gupta was hired as a middleman by Dassault in 2001, after India announced that it wanted to buy fighter jets. The official bid process itself was only launched in 2007. Other documents obtained by Indian detectives show that in 2015, during the final negotiations of the Rafale contract, Sushil Gupta got hold of confidential documents from India's Ministry of Defence detailing the stance of the Indian negotiators, in particular how they calculated the price of the aircraft. Dassault has refused to comment on these documents. Sushil Gupta did not respond when contacted by Mediapart, stated the report. French portal Mediapart has alleged that Dassault paid at least €7.50 MN to middleman Sushil Gupta from 2007 to 2012 through overbilled IT contracts with a shell company to secure the €7.87 billion deal Rafale deal with India. Despite the existence of related papers since October 2018, the Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) has not yet taken up a probe, it alleged. A response from the CBI to the allegation is still awaited. The probe agencies have accused Mr. Gupta of being instrumental in the routing of commissions in the 2010 AgustaWestland VVIP chopper deal via Mauritius-based shell company Interstellar Technologies Limited and several other such entities. BJP demands Rahul's response on fresh revelation by Mediapart. Indian National Congress should be renamed as I Need Commission, it says, reacting to a French media report that commissions were paid between 2007 and 2012 for securing the Rafale deal with India. The BJP on Tuesday said the Indian National Congress should be renamed as I Need Commission, and alleged that the failed negotiations for the aircraft took place when the Congress was in power and they failed because of the latter's dissatisfaction with the cut. At a press meet at the BJP headquarters here, spokesperson Sambit Patra accused the Congress, especially its former president Rahul Gandhi, who has been alleging corruption in the purchase of the fighter aircraft by the Modi government, of spreading canard, disinformation and lies. Mr. Patra also sought Mr. Gandhi's response to the fresh revelation by French investigative portal Mediapart. Mediapart has claimed that bogus invoices were used that enabled the French aircraft maker Dassault Aviation to pay at least €7.5 million in secret commissions to a middleman to help it secure the Rafale deal with India. According to its investigation, the Dassault Aviation paid the kickbacks to the intermediary in Mauritius between 2007 and 2012, putting it in the time frame when the Congress-led UPA was in power. Mr. Patra alleged that it was clearly the dissatisfaction of the Congress and the Gandhi family that was the main reason behind the negotiations falling through during the UPA government. The Mediapart story says that corruption, influence peddling and favoritism marked the deal during the UPA government, he noted. It will not be an exaggeration to say the Inc. be renamed as I Need Commission. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, Robert Vadra, all say that I Need Commission. The UPA government had a deal within every deal, he said. The Congress had in the past said the allegations of corruption by the BJP against its ruling family and its members were driven by vendetta. Mr. Patra also said the alleged middleman Sushen Mohan Gupta, whose name has cropped up in the Rafale case, was also accused of pocketing commission in the purchase of VVIP choppers. This is too much of a coincidence, and too much of a coincidence is always a conspiracy, he said. The Supreme Court and the CAG have already gone into the contents of the Rafale deal signed by the Modi government and found nothing wrong in it, Mr. Patra said. He said Mr. Gandhi had made the alleged corruption in the purchase a big election issue during the 2019 polls, but it failed to make any impact. The BJP retained power with a bigger majority, he said. In a three-part investigative series in April, Mediapart said Dassault paid €1 million to Defsys Solutions, one of the Gupta family's Indian companies, for the production of 50 replica models of the Rafale jet, but French authorities were not shown any proof that they were actually made. Further in July, The French publication reported that a French judge will conduct a judicial investigation into the Rafale deal on charges of corruption following a decision by the French National Financial Prosecutor's Office (PNF). The Rafale deal has faced several questions in the past pertaining to allegations of corruption, favoritism and deviations in procedure. Reacting to a French media report that commissions were paid between 2007 and 2012 for securing the Rafale deal with India, the BJP on Tuesday said the Indian National Congress should be renamed as I Need Commission, and alleged that the failed negotiations for the aircraft took place when the Congress was in power and they failed because of the latter's dissatisfaction with the cut. At a press meet at the BJP headquarters here, spokesperson Sambit Patra accused the Congress, especially its former president Rahul Gandhi, who has been alleging corruption in the purchase of the fighter aircraft by the Modi government, of spreading canard, disinformation and lies. Mr. Patra also sought Mr. Gandhi's response to the fresh revelation by French investigative portal Mediapart. The corruption can be tracked to PM Modi's doorstep, the Congress leader said. The evidence in this case had first came up on October 4, 2018 when two former union ministers of the BJP, Arun Shourie and Yashwant Sinha, submitted a file to then CBI Director Alok Verma. On October 11 the Attorney General of Mauritius also sent documents about the middleman Gupta, the Congress spokesperson said. The Congress party on Tuesday accused the Narendra Modi government of covering up corruption in the Rafale scam and shying away from registering an for even 36 months after evidence emerged on middleman Sushant Gupta's role in the deal. Addressing a press conference, party spokesperson Pawan Khera said the government is busy burying the black melting pot of corruption, kickbacks and collusion. And in doing so, it has undermined national security, jeopardized the interests of Indian armed forces and caused a loss to the exchequer of 41,000 crore rupees, he added. French investigative journal Mediapart in fresh revelations had exposed how middleman Gupta got hold of confidential documents belonging to the Indian negotiating team, INT, in 2015 from the Ministry of Defence. The documents detailed the stance of Indian negotiators during the final lap of negotiation and in particular how they calculated the price of the aircraft. This gave a clear advantage to Dassault Aviation Rafale, Mr. Khera claimed, citing the Mediapart report. Instead of following the trail, Mr. Khera said, the PM Modi-led committee removed Mr. Verma in middle of the night and conducted a raid at the CBI headquarters. This was part of the concerted conspiracy to bury the Rafale ghost, he alleged. Mr. Khera pointed out that on March 26, 2019, the Enforcement Directorate (ED) had raided Gupta's premises in connection with another case. Is it not correct that the ED recovered a hoard of top-secret Defense Ministry documents from Mr. Gupta? He asked. The documents, he claimed, included the benchmark price document of August 10, 2015, the record of discussions by the INT of the Defense Ministry, the Excel sheet of calculations made by Defense Ministry, and Eurofighter's counter offer of 20% discount to Government of India. Mr. Khera alleged that a note of June 24, 2014, sent to Dassault by Gupta, offering a meeting with the political high command, was also recovered and asked if such a meeting had taken place with the high command in the Modi government. This is nothing short of endangering national security, sedition and a gross violation of Official Secrets Act, he alleged. Why did the ED not pursue these evidences further to investigate the scam? Why did the Modi government then not take action against Dassault, the political executive or the defense ministry officers who leaked the documents? Which Chokoda sold India's national secrets? Mr. Khera asked. The Congress leader also alleged that on Prime Minister Modi's directions the anti-corruption clauses, no bribery, no gift, no influence, no commission, no middlemen, was removed. Were the anti-corruption clauses deleted to escape responsibility from bribery and commission to be paid in the Rafale deal? Why was the deletion of anti-corruption clauses approved by the Prime Minister and the Modi government in September 2016, despite the Defense Ministry's insistence upon including it in the intergovernmental agreement in July 2015? Mr. Khera asked. Following is the chronology of events in the Rafale fighter jets deal in which the Supreme Court on Thursday rejected review petitions against its verdict giving clean chit to the Narendra Modi government. December 30, 2002, Defense Procurement Procedures (DPP) adopted to streamline process. August 28, 2007, Ministry of Defense issues request for proposal for procurement of 126 MMRCA, medium multi-role combat aircraft, fighters. September 4, 2008, Anil Ambani-led Reliance Group incorporates Reliance Aerospace Technologies Ltd (RATL), May 2011. Air Force shortlists Rafale and Eurofighter jets January 30, 2012. Dassault Aviation's Rafale aircraft comes up with the lowest bid. March 13, 2014. Work-share agreement signed between HAL and Dassault Aviation under which they were responsible for 70% and 30% of the work, respectively, for 108 aircraft. August 8, 2014. Then Defense Minister Arun Jaitley tells Parliament that 18 direct fly-away aircraft expected to be delivered in 3 to 4 years from signing of the contract, remaining 108 aircraft to be delivered in the next 7 years. April 8, 2015, the then Foreign Secretary says detailed discussions underway between Dassault, MOD and HAL. April 10, new deal for acquisition of 36 direct fly-away aircraft from France announced January 26, 2016. India and France signed MOU for 36 Rafale aircraft. September 23, intergovernmental agreement signed November 18. Government states in Parliament that the cost of each Rafale aircraft to be approximately 670 crore rupees and that all aircraft will be delivered by April 2022. In September 2016, India and France signed a €7.87 billion intergovernmental agreement (IGA) for 36 Rafale multi-role fighter jets in fly-away condition. India chose Dassault over its traditional partner Russia's MiG. The deal has a 50% offset clause to be executed by Dassault Aviation and its partners in partnership with Indian companies. The basic cost of the aircraft is about 680 crore rupees. This deal is India's biggest ever procurement. Besides the missile systems, the Rafale jets will come with various India-specific modifications, including Israeli helmet-mounted displays, radar warning receivers, low-band jammers, 10-hour flight data recording, infrared search and tracking systems among others. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh received the first Rafale jet at an air base in France on October 8. The first batch of 4 Rafale aircraft will arrive in India by May 2020. December 31, 2016, Dassault Aviation's annual report reveals the actual price paid for the 36 aircraft at about 60,000 crore rupees, more than double the government's stated price in Parliament March 13, 2018. PIL in SC seeks independent probe into Centre's decision to procure 36 Rafale fighter jets from France and disclosure of the cost involved in the deal before Parliament. September 5, SC agrees to hear PIL seeking stay on Rafale fighter jet deal October 8. SC agrees to hear on October 10 fresh PIL seeking direction to Centre to file in sealed cover the details of the agreement for buying 36 Rafale fighter jets. October 10, SC asks Centre to provide details of decision-making process in the Rafale fighter jet deal in a sealed cover. October 24. Former Union Ministers Yashwant Sinha and Arun Shourie and activist lawyer Prashant Bhushan moves SC, seeking registration of FIR into Rafale fighter jet deal. October 31, SC asks Centre to place it in sealed cover within 10 days. The pricing details of 36 Rafale fighter jets. November 12. Centre places price details of 36 Rafale fighter jets in a sealed cover before SC. It also gives details of steps that led to finalization of the Rafale deal. November 14, SC reserves judgment on pleas seeking court-monitored probe in Rafale deal. December 14. SC says there is no occasion to doubt the decision-making process of the Modi government and dismisses all the petitions seeking direction to the CBI to register and FIR for alleged irregularities in the jet deal. January 2, 2019, Sinha, Shourie and Bhushan move SC seeking review of its December 14 judgment. February 26. SC agrees to hear review petitions in open court. March 13. Gov tells SC that documents filed by review petitioners are sensitive to national security. April 10. SC dismisses Centre's objection claiming privilege over documents by petitioners to seek review. April 12. BJP MP Meenakshi Lekhi moves SC against Rahul Gandhi for wrongly attributing his "Chokada Chor Hai" remarks on Rafale to the apex court. April 23, SC issues contempt notice to Rahul Gandhi for his remarks on Rafale verdict. May 8, Gandhi tenders unconditional apology in SC. May 10. SC reserves verdict on review pleas and contempt petition. November 14, SC dismisses review pleas against its verdict in the Rafale deal, rejects contention that there was need for registration of an FIR in connection with the procurement of 36 fighter jets from French firm Dassault Aviation. SC closes contempt plea against Rahul Gandhi. September 4, 2008, Anil Ambani-led Reliance Group incorporates Reliance Aerospace Technologies Ltd (RATL), May 2011. Air Force shortlists Rafale in Eurofighter jets. January 30, 2012, Dassault Aviation's Rafale aircraft comes up with the lowest bid. March 13, 2014. Work-share agreement signed between HAL and Dassault Aviation, under which they were responsible for 70% and 30% of the work, respectively, for 108 aircraft. August 8, 2014, then Defense Minister Arun Jaitley tells Parliament that 18 direct, fly-away, aircraft expected to be delivered in 3 to 4 years from signing of the contract, remaining 108 aircraft to be delivered in the next 7 years. April 8, 2015, the then Foreign Secretary says detailed discussions underway between Dassault, MOD and HAL. April 10, new deal for acquisition of 36 direct, fly-away, aircraft from France announced January 26, 2016. India and France signed MoU for 36 Rafale aircraft. September 23, intergovernmental agreement signed November 18. Government states in Parliament that the cost of each Rafale aircraft to be approximately 670 crore rupees and that all aircraft will be delivered by April 2022. They are a major capability booster for IAF, whose fighter fleet is shrinking. The Indian Air Force (IAF) has much to cheer with the arrival of 5 Rafale Omni-role fighter jets in terms of the technology and capability accretion that it brings. In the words of the Air Chief Marshal ACM RKS Bhadoria and former ACM BS Dhanoa, Rafale is a game changer. Encapsulating what the Rafales bring in, ACM Bhadoria said in February that at the time of the Kargil conflict in 1999, India had an edge over Pakistan in terms of beyond visual range (BVR) missile capability. We allowed that to slip in thereafter. It took a decade and a half of struggle in the acquisition process to be able to get better capability, he said. The Rafale, armed with the Meteor BVR air-to-air missile, will restore that edge in the neighborhood as there is no equivalent to it currently. According to its manufacturer Dassault Aviation, Rafale is an omni-role fighter capable of the entire spectrum of roles: air superiority and air defense, close air support, in-depth strikes, reconnaissance, anti-ship strikes and nuclear deterrence. With its advanced AESA active electronically scanned array radar, electronic warfare suite and network-centric capabilities in addition to its armaments, Rafale is now the most advanced fighter in the IAF arsenal, overtaking the Su-30 Mki, which is due for major upgrades. Rafale is also the first imported fighter to join service in over 2 decades since the Su-30s in the late 1990s. Rafale has 14 hardpoints for weapons and can carry a total external load of over 9 tons. In addition to the Meteor, it is armed with Scalp long-range standoff attack air-to-ground missiles and Mica multi-mission air-to-air missiles. The latest addition, Hammer, highly agile modular munition extended range, medium-range air-to-ground missiles, is being procured through the emergency route. Another significant factor with the Rafales is that as per contract, at least 75% of the Rafale fleet has to be operationally available, which would make it the most available fighter in the IAF fleet. The first Rafale Squadron, number 17 Golden Arrows, will be based at Ambala and the second squadron will be at Hasimar. All 36 aircraft will be delivered on schedule by end 2021, the Indian Embassy in France said last week. The €7.87 billion (59,262 crore rupees) intergovernmental agreement, signed in September 2016 between India and France for 36 Rafale jets in flyaway condition, also includes 13 India-specific enhancements, the non-recurring design and development cost of which is 9,855 crore rupees. Some of them pertain to radar enhancements, helmet-mounted display, ability to start and operate from high-altitude airfields, advanced infrared search and track sensor and a very potent electronic jammer pod. The deal also epitomizes the cumbersome defense procurement process in which government-to-government deals have of late become the way out. Rafale was originally selected under the Medium Multi-Role Combat Aircraft tender issued in 2007, which itself was conceived as a MiG-21 replacement project in early 2000s. Rafale was selected in 2012 but negotiations got stuck due to differences and the tender was eventually withdrawn after the emergency purchase announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in April 2015, citing critical operational necessity of the IAF. Falling numbers, however, the 36 Rafales will do little to arrest the falling numbers of fighter squadrons of the IAF, which has a sanctioned strength of 42 squadrons but is down to 31 at present. To offset that, the IAF is banking on the indigenous Tejas Light Combat Aircraft (LCA). A contract for 83 LCA Mk1A is in final stages and they are in addition to the 40 jets already contracted for. A more advanced LCA Mk2 is also in the works. The government has recently approved the procurement of 21 MiG-29 jets from Russia, which will add 2 additional squadrons. In addition, 12 Su-30 Mki aircraft have also been approved, which will replenish the numbers of Sukhois lost in crashes. The IAF will also phase out 5 squadrons of MiG-21s in the next few years. While the IAF works to keep the numbers from falling further, the Rafale, which joins the IAF at a time of unprecedented tensions on the border with China, will give a qualitative edge to the force in the region. A French judge has been tasked with investigating the controversial 2016 multi-billion-dollar sale of Rafale fighter jets to India on corruption suspicions, the French National Financial Prosecutor's Office (PNF) said on Friday. The €7.8 billion $9.3 billion deal for 36 planes between the Government of India and French aircraft manufacturer Dassault has long been mired in corruption allegations. The PNF had initially refused to investigate the sale, prompting French investigative website Mediapart to accuse it and the French anti-corruption agency of burying suspicions surrounding the September 2016 deal. A French judge has been tasked with investigating the controversial 2016 multi-billion-dollar sale of Rafale fighter jets to India on corruption suspicions, the French National Financial Prosecutor's Office (PNF) said on Friday. The €7.8 billion $9.3 billion deal for 36 planes between the Government of India and French aircraft manufacturer Dassault has long been mired in corruption allegations. The PNF had initially refused to investigate the sale, prompting French investigative website Mediapart to accuse it and the French anti-corruption agency of burying suspicions surrounding the September 2016 deal. In April, Mediapart claimed millions of euros of hidden commissions were given to a go-between who helped Dassault conclude the sale, of which some could have been given as bribes to Indian officials. Dassault retorted that no wrongdoing was flagged in the group's audits. After the reports, France's Sherpa NGO, which specializes in financial crime, filed an official complaint for corruption and influence peddling, among other accusations, prompting an investigating magistrate to be designated to probe the deal. Sherpa had already asked for an investigation into the deal in 2018, but the PNF took no action. In this first complaint, the NGO had denounced the fact that Dassault chose Reliance Group as its Indian partner, a conglomerate headed by billionaire Anil Ambani, who was close to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Dassault had initially won a contract in 2012 to supply 126 jets to India and had been negotiating with Indian aerospace company Hindustan Aeronautics Limited (HAL). By March 2015, those talks had almost reached a conclusion, according to Dassault. But in April of that year, after PM Modi paid an official visit to France, the talks suddenly broke down to general surprise. Reliance Group, which has no experience in aeronautics, replaced HAL and finalized a new contract for 36 jets. In January 2016, at the time of the negotiations, Reliance had financed a film co-produced by Julie Guy, the partner of François Hollande, who was the French president at the time. Sherpa believes this could constitute influence peddling. Mr. Hollande said there was no conflict of interest, saying France had not had any say in who Dassault's Indian partner was. France's Le Monde newspaper also revealed that France in 2015 cancelled a €143.7 million tax adjustment targeting a French firm belonging to Reliance, at the time when the deal was being negotiated. The Dassault Rafale, literally meaning gust of wind and burst of fire, in a more military sense, is a French twin-engine, canard delta-wing, multirole fighter aircraft designed and built by Dassault Aviation. Equipped with a wide range of weapons, the Rafale is intended to perform air supremacy, interdiction, aerial reconnaissance, ground support, in-depth strike, anti-ship strike and nuclear deterrence missions. The Rafale is referred to as an omnirole aircraft by Dassault. In the late 1970s, the French Air Force and French Navy were seeking to replace and consolidate their current fleets of aircraft. In order to reduce development costs and boost prospective sales, France entered into an arrangement with the UK, Germany, Italy and Spain to produce an agile multipurpose, future European fighter aircraft, what would become the Eurofighter Typhoon. Subsequent disagreements over workshare and differing requirements led to France's pursuit of its own development program. Dassault built a technology demonstrator which first flew in July 1986 as part of an 8-year flight test program, paving the way for the go-ahead of the project. The Rafale is distinct from other European fighters of its era in that it is almost entirely built by one country, involving most of France's major defense contractors, such as Dassault, Thales and Safran. Many of the aircraft's avionics and features, such as direct voice input, the RBE-2AA active electronically scanned array AESA radar and the optronic sector frontal infrared search and track (ASIT) sensor, were domestically developed and produced for the Rafale program. Originally scheduled to enter service in 1996, the Rafale suffered significant delays due to post-Cold War budget cuts and changes in priorities. The aircraft is available in three main variants: Rafale C single-seat land-based version, Rafale B twin-seat land-based version, and Rafale M single-seat carrier-based version. Introduced in 2001, the Rafale is being produced for both the French Air Force and for carrier-based operations in the French Navy. The Rafale has been marketed for export to several countries, and was selected for purchase by the Egyptian Air Force, the Indian Air Force, the Qatar Air Force, the Hellenic Air Force, and the Croatian Air Force. The Rafale has been used in combat over Afghanistan, Libya, Mali, Iraq and Syria. Origins in the mid-1970s, both the French Air Force Armée de l'Air and Navy Marine Nationale had requirements for a new generation of fighters to replace those in or about to enter service. Because their requirements were similar, and to reduce cost, both departments issued a common request for proposal. In 1975, the French Ministry of Aviation initiated studies for a new aircraft to complement the upcoming and smaller Dassault Mirage 2000, with each aircraft optimized for differing roles. In 1979, the French company Dassault joined the MBB, European Collaborative Fighter, project which was renamed the European Combat Aircraft, ECA. The French company contributed the aerodynamic layout of a prospective twin-engine, single-seat fighter. However, the project collapsed in 1981 due to differing operational requirements of each partner country. In 1983, the Future European Fighter Aircraft (FEFA) program was initiated, bringing together Italy, Spain, West Germany, France and the United Kingdom to jointly develop a new fighter, although the latter three had their own aircraft developments. A number of factors led to the eventual split between France and the other four countries. Around 1984, France reiterated its requirement for a carrier-capable version and demanded a leading role. It also insisted on a swing-role fighter that was lighter than the design favored by the other four nations. West Germany, the UK and Italy opted out and established a new European Fighter Aircraft (EFA) program. In Turin on 2 August 1985, West Germany, the UK and Italy agreed to go ahead with the EFA, and confirmed that France, along with Spain, had chosen not to proceed as a member of the project. Despite pressure from France, Spain rejoined the Eurofighter project in early September 1985. The four-nation project eventually resulted in the development of the Eurofighter Typhoon. Design phase and prototype in France, the government proceeded with its own program. The French Ministry of Defense required an aircraft capable of air-to-air and air-to-ground, all-day and adverse weather operations. Unlike other contemporary European fighter projects that required some level of international collaboration and cost-sharing, France was the sole developer of the Rafale's airframe, avionics, propulsion system and armament, and as such the aircraft was to replace a multitude of aircraft in the French armed forces. The Rafale would perform roles previously filled by an assortment of specialized platforms, including the Jaguar, Mirage F1C CRCT, Mirage 2000C-5N in the French Air Force, and the F-8P Crusader, Attendard IVP-M and Super Attendard in French naval aviation. During October–December 1978, prior to France's joining of the ECA, Dassault received contracts for the development of Project ACT-92 Avion, the Combat Tactic, meaning Tactical Combat Airplane. The following year, the National Office for Aviation Studies and Research began studying the possible configurations of the new fighter under the codename Rapace, meaning bird of prey. By March 1980, the number of configurations had been narrowed down to 4, 2 of which had a combination of canards, delta wings and a single vertical tail fin. In October 1982, the French Ministry of Defense announced that Dassault would build a technology demonstrator named Avion, the Combat Experimental Combat Airplane, ACX. France wanted to collaborate with West Germany and the UK on the project, but was prepared to build the ACX by itself. In 1984, the government decided to proceed with a combat variant of the ACX due to the conflicting technical criteria of the respective FEFA participant nations. The resultant Rafale, a technology demonstrator, was a large delta-winged fighter, with all-moving canards, embodying fly-by-wire (FBW) flight control system. Construction of the demonstrator commenced in March 1984, even before a contract was signed with the DGA, France's defense procurement agency. The technology demonstrator was rolled out in December 1985 in St. Cloud, and took its maiden flight on 4 July 1986 from Istres-sur-Tube Air Base in southern France. During the one-hour flight, the project's chief test pilot Guy Mito-Moroa took the aircraft to an altitude of 11,000 meters (36,000 feet) and a speed of Mach 1.3. The 9.5-ton 21,000 pounds demonstrator stopped in 300 meters 980 feet upon landing. Throughout the flight test program, the Rafale performed numerous day and night takeoffs and landings aboard the carriers Clemenceau and Foch to investigate the pilot's field of view during carrier operations. It reached a speed of Mach 2 2,450 km per hour, 1,520 miles per hour, 1,320 knots, and a height of 13,000 meters, 42,000 feet. The demonstrator was initially powered by General Electric F404GE400 afterburning turbofans from the F/A-18 Hornet, instead of the Snecma M88, to reduce the risk that often comes with the first flight, and since the M88 was not considered sufficiently mature for the initial trials program. It was not until May 1990 when the M88 replaced the Port F404 in the demonstrator to enable the aircraft to reach Mach 1.4 and demonstrate supercruise, or sustained supersonic flight without use of afterburners. After 865 flights with 4 pilots, Rafale was retired in January 1994. At the time of the Rafale's maiden flight, France entered unsuccessful talks with Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands and Norway about a possible collaboration on the Rafale as a multinational project. At the time, Belgium was reportedly interested in the Rafale B. In June 1987, Prime Minister Jacques Chirac declared that the country would proceed with the $30 billion United States dollars project. Subsequently, on the 21st of April 1988, the French government awarded Dassault a contract for 4 Rafale prototypes, 1 Rafale C, 2 Rafale Ms and 1 Rafale B. The first out of an expected 330 Rafales was scheduled to enter service in 1996. However, the fall of the Berlin Wall, which signaled the end of the Cold War, as well as the need to reduce the national deficit, compelled the French government to drastically reduce its defense budget. The 1994 budget for the Rafale program was cut by $340 million United States dollars. This reduced the size of the Rafale orders, which Dassault and other companies involved claimed impeded production management and led to higher costs, and delayed the entry of the aircraft into service. The French Air Force was reorganized, the Mirage 5F was completely phased out and a total of 55 Mirage F-1Cs were upgraded to a tactical fighter configuration, redesignated as Mirage F-1CT. The budget cuts prolonged the Rafale's development considerably. During the Rafale flight test program, the French government in 1989 looked at the F/A-18 Hornet as a potential replacement for the rapidly aging F-8 Crusader, which had been serving since the 1950s. The French Navy entered purchase of second-hand F/A-18s with Australia, Canada and the US, after the decision was made not to upgrade the Crusaders. The U.S. Navy agreed to supply 2 F/A-18s to the French Navy for interoperability testing, aboard the French aircraft carrier Foch. The French government did not proceed with the purchase of the twin-engine fighter, to meet the various roles expected of the new aircraft, The Air Force required two variants, the single-seat, Rafale C, chasseur, meaning, fighter, or literally, hunter, and the Rafale B, biplace, or two-seater. The prototype of the C model designated CO-1 completed its first flight on 19 May 1991, signaling the start of a test program which primarily aimed to test the M88-2 engines, man-machine interface and weapons, and expand the flight envelope. Due to budget constraints, the second single-seat prototype was never built. The CO-1 differed significantly from the Rafale A, although superficially identical to the technology demonstrator. It was smaller and more stealthy due to the gold-coated canopy, a redesign of the fuselage fin joint, and the addition of radar-absorbent materials RAM. This aircraft also saw extensive application of composite and other materials, which both reduced the radar cross-section (RCS) and weight. Moreover, Dassault opted to reject variable engine inlets and a dedicated air brake, which lessens maintenance loads and saves weight. The BO-1, the only prototype of the two-seat B variant, made its maiden flight on 30 April 1993. It was 350 kilograms (770 pounds) heavier than the single-seater, but carried 400 liters (110 US gal) less fuel. The aircraft was used for weapon systems testing. Later it was tasked with validating weapon separation and, specifically, the carriage of heavy loads. The aircraft's typical loadout consisted of two 2,000-liter (530 US gal) external tanks, two Apache Scalp cruise missiles, in addition to 4 air-to-air missiles. The Navy, meanwhile, sought a carrier-based aircraft to supersede its fleet of aging Attendard IVMs and Ps, F-8P Crusaders and Super Attendard modernizers. While the Navy initially modernized the Crusaders, in the long term, the requirement was met with the navalized Rafale M. The MO-1, the naval prototype, first flew on 12 December 1991, followed by the second on 8 November 1993. Since France had no land-based catapult test facility, catapult trials were initially carried out during July-August 1992 and early the following year, at NAS Lakehurst in New Jersey. The aircraft then carried out trials aboard the carrier Foch in April 1993. Flown by Dassault's chief test pilot, Yves Caherve, MO-2 made its maiden flight in November that year, while the first prototype completed the third round of testing at Lakehurst in November and December 1993. Initially, the Rafale B was to be just a trainer, but the Gulf War showed that a second crew member was invaluable on strike and reconnaissance missions. Therefore, in 1991 the Air Force switched its preferences towards the two-seater, announcing that the variant would constitute 60% of the Rafale fleet. The service originally envisaged taking delivery of 250 Rafales, but this was initially revised downwards to 234 aircraft, made up of 95 A and 139 B models, and later to 212 aircraft. The Navy, meanwhile, had 60 Rafales on order, down from 86 due to budget cuts. Of the 60, 25 would be M single-seaters and 35 two-seat-ends, though the two-seater was later cancelled. Production of the first aircraft series formally started in December 1992, but was suspended in November 1995 due to political and economic uncertainty. Production only resumed in January 1997 after the Ministry of Defense and Dassault agreed on a 48 aircraft, 28 firm and 20 options production run with delivery between 2002 and 2007. A further order of 59 F-3 Rafales was announced in December 2004. In November 2009, the French government ordered an additional 60 aircraft to take the total order for the French Air Force and Navy to 180. During the Rafale's design phase, Dassault took advantage of Dassault Systèmes' CATIA computer-aided three-dimensional interactive application, a three-dimensional computer-aided design, manufacture and engineering software suite that would become standard across the industry. CATIA enabled digitization and efficiency improvements throughout the Rafale program, as it implemented recently developed processes such as digital mockup and product data management. It consisted of 15 GB databases of each of the Rafale's components, assisting with various aspects of the design, manufacture and through-life support.